Well, hello, welcome back. I am excited about this project because I love topiaries, and I don't know if you saw the last tutorial that we uploaded. Judy did a Ferrero Rocher box with 8 Ferrero Rocher, these little guys. Now, once I was looking at our channel, on the right side, you know how you get all that information? I saw real size projects using the real size Ferrero Rocher chocolates. And one of them that caught my eye was a topiary, very similar to this. But this one is a 12 scale. Now, I've got to tell you, it's 12 scale, but it's a little bit bigger than I would like to have it. So I've done another one through the tutorial. This was my demo. I just did that. And then I ended up doing this one as your tutorial for today. And this one is a better size for your sideboard. If I were to do another one, and I probably will because I do love topiaries, I will do using a smaller bead, and you're going to see that on the video. When I saw the topiaries, it reminded me of a topiary that I did like 20 years ago, one of my first projects, and here it is. I've never sold it. I probably will not ever sell it, and I thought I'd be using it in my dollhouse, but I guess it never made it in there. And it is done with, these are little seed pods, and I don't know if you can tell, I cannot tell you what these seed pods are, where they came from. All I know is that I was collecting and collecting stuff, and they made their way into this little styrofoam ball, and I made the topiary. So, being that I love topiaries, being that we just did the Ferrero Rocher, I thought it was a good segue to showing you how to make the little, the miniature Ferrero Rocher topiary. So stay with me. Let's work through and show you how to make this one. I've got lots of hints and tips to show and share with you. Let's go over what we need for the Ferrero Rocher topiary. The Ferrero Rocher, you need the pot, the flower pot, and we'll go over some of the possibilities. Some green Crayola dough or Play-Doh, and I have a little bit here that's going to go to fill in your pot, so you can put in your stick. And then there's the stick for the topiary. We'll discuss these as well. And the ribbon. You also need a bead. We'll discuss this bead as we go through. You can probably tell it's not really a bead. For tools, a pair of scissors, not your good ones, tweezers, or stylus, paint of choice for your pot, glue, of course, need lots of glue. Here, this one is tacky glue. To get started, let me show you a couple little things. Previous posts that I have on Instagram, I showed you a little holding tool. Not really a tool, but something to hold your work as you work. And all it is, it's a cork. This one happens to be a fancy rubber cork, and the little woodsy can also be a little piece of styrofoam, a little piece of card, anything. And all you need to do is take your glue and then glue it on to whatever it is that you're going to use as the base. This is such a handy tool that I use. Now that this is glued on, this is what you get. And all I've done was, with the pokey tool, I've poked a little hole into the center of it. Sometimes I've used a little thumbtack on here with a little bit of wax, and you can hold all kinds of things on there while you paint, you glue, like this. Hold it, becomes your fancy third hand, like some of us have this little gizmo. This is cheap, and this you can just make at home. So now let's talk about the pots that you're going to use. Here's a pot. It's a very lovely shape, but you can also use a pot like this. You can use one like this. I love this shape. Very pretty. And these, well, you can get these little woodsy shapes at the craft store, dollar store. Here's one that I've done some time ago, and it's even got some finishing on it. There's a bigger one like this. This is wood. This is ceramic or clay. And here's a fancy one. So you choose your pot. Here's another one. These are plastic ones, and depends on the size of the top of your topiary. This particular one will fit just like that. And I'm finding that as I'm going along and discovering different topiary sizes, that if you get a bead that is, here you go, that is the size, it fits just nicely on top of the pot, that will produce a good sized topiary, because don't forget, you're going to add the Ferrero Rocher onto the top, so it'll be bigger. I picked this size because I thought it would be a good size stem. You can also get it from your Q-tips. It's a good size. If you see this size, you think that might be a little bit too big for this pot, but maybe not too big for this pot. You can use, this is a skewer, but a toothpick for this particular pot would be a little bit too slim, I think. This is your preference. It's your own choice. But there it is. And then we'll cut it down to the size that we need, and we talk about it later. The bead. So this is a little bit of an interesting thing. The first one I made was definitely too big. My goodness, it took me over 50 Ferrero Rocher to make this one. Now, if you think about it, if this was going to be used on your sideboard, that would be a lot of chocolates to be putting out on one particular decoration. And that actually measures, if I use this to measure it, gee, it's almost 1 1/4 inch. So it is kind of big, not quite 1 1/4. Cleaning my kitchen drawers, I saw this little gizmo. I think probably a whole bunch of us have one of these. I don't know if you know what it is, but it's a spaghetti stick. So it measures the quantity of spaghetti for the portions that you need. So for 3 people, this one. But when I looked at it, and I was trying to get rid of stuff from that drawer, but instead I moved it to the craft room because I saw 1 1/2 inch circle, 1 1/4, 7/8, 3/4, 5/8, and half. So guess what? Yep, it's in the craft room. This is the size of bead. We're still calling it a bead. I found the best for the size of the pot that I had, and it is 5/8 of an inch. And the way I figured it out was, if I put this on top of the pot, it seems like it would be the good fit, because by the time I add all the Ferrero Rocher on it, it will be bigger. And if you were to use a bigger pot, you'd want a 3/4 inch. That's how I figured out what size I needed. By taking the pot, if it was this pot, I would probably want a bigger, see, this one is bigger than that. That's too small for this pot, but it's probably okay for this pot. And it's probably okay for this size pot. I think you get it. Okay, so now let's talk about sphere for the Ferrero Rocher Topiary. This is the one that I ended up using, or wanting to use at this point. And here are some choices. This would be a great size. The size that I've used was 5/8. I found that the 1 inch that I originally used for this one, for this topiary, just a little bit too big. I mean, it's effective. You get all this beautiful Ferrero Rocher chocolates on there, but this is a little bit too big if you consider the size of pot that we are going to want to use. And here's, for example, this pot. It's just a little bit too big. If you want to use on this size of pot, it's not so bad. So it's your choice. But I just want to show you a little trick. And the trick is how to get a sphere the size that you want without having to go and buy yet another kind of bead. So I started with this 1 inch styrofoam. And I found that if I press the styrofoam, oops, all kinds of little balls going haywire here. If I press this styrofoam like so, just with your fingers, or this way, I could get it from that size to this size. Already you see that this size became this size. So you went from 7/8 to 3/4. And you can get it even smaller by just keeping on smooshing it, getting it smaller and smaller for the size that you want. So you don't have to go and, as you can see, this is a used styrofoam, but it doesn't matter because you're going to be covering that. So it becomes this size. I also had these beads, and it's a kind of a hard styrofoam. You could use that. Whatever bead that you want, you really do need to have a hole. That is why one of these aren't good, because it has no holes. This would be good because you now have a little hole here. So that would be a perfect size. This one would also be good, has a little hole, slightly bigger. You can also do it with this one. It's a little pearlized bead. Hey, you don't have a bead, so what do? And that is how I got this 4x4 piece of foil. Will give me a 5/8 bead, this bead right there. And if I smoosh it even smaller, it gives me that one. And I can start it with this size. Okay, so I will take that, push it into the center. It doesn't matter which side, but pick all the open ends into itself. What you need is a flat surface to do this. But when I do that, it doesn't really do much. It just sits there and it gets flat on one side. But what I found out was that if I take this and I now flatten it over sanding paper like that, you're going to start, and you keep going around, and you'll see that this one will give you the same size as that one. So 4 inches will give you this. Same thing with the styrofoam. If you do it over the sanding paper, it'll go nice and smooth. to get the definition of the brown wrappers, I took some of the Ferrero Rocher foil and covered the bead. You don't need to glue it down, it'll just stay here. Once you pinch it nice together, cut it out, cut out the excess, leave a little bit, and just like with the rest of it, this does not need to be smooth, but you can smooth it out. Smooth it out. Here we go. Get my, like that. And now you have a nice smooth sphere. Or we can put the stem on it that we want. Now this one, which is from your bamboo sticks, or this one. I'm going to use this one because it already has the pointy on. And I'm simply going to take the bottom of it. Now if this is too hard, use a pokey tool, but I found that it was not hard at all. And you can just put it right into the center of your sphere. So now we're ready for the Ferrero Rocher. Let's talk about that. As you know, in the previous video, Judy made all kinds of Ferrero Rocher for the little boxes. And that is just great. However, for this project, I found that they were a little bit too big. And to make it more realistic for this size of project, I needed to have the chocolates be just a little smaller than the ones that we made for the boxes. I'll show you the size. Instead of that, yes, this is the chain that Judy used, that we used when we were doing the project with the miniature group. It's about 4.5 millimeter. But the ones that I used to make the chocolates for the Topiary, it's only 3 millimeter. That, and I simply got them in my stash. Now we're ready to start putting the chocolates onto the sphere that we created. And it's very easy. Again, you take some glue, start from the top, possibly with the nicest ones that you have. Glue, pop it into the glue like that, and start at the top like this. Take another one, dip into the glue, and off you go. And we'll put the last couple on here. Maybe I'll put it in this little pot. It's kind of cute. So I'm going to work on this pot. I'm going to dry brush it with green. Like that. This is very easy to do, this process. This little thing, you stick that on, and now you're not going to do it on your fingers like I just did. I got this gold leafing at the dollar store. I will put just a tiny dab with my finger of glue here and there, because I don't want the whole pot to be gold. I just want a little bit of gold touch. Nothing like nail polish to get a job done quickly. Clear nail polish. You can also use the shiny Mod Podge at this stage. Okay, there you go. Woo. Go. Just a little bit of shine here and there. That dries. We're going to work on the ribbon for the bow. In one of the videos I've done before, I mentioned this little thing I made for making ribbons. So basically, a cork, 2 nails at the desired width of your ribbon. I also put here, if you wanted to use it a smaller size, and then you put some sticky double-sided tape here, double-sided tape here, and you stick it to the surface that you're working on. I take about 6 inches. My tool, I'm going to put it right here so you can see it, and go around. Don't forget you're going to need enough to hang down from there. So you're going to need some nice long tails. I'm going to go to make the bow round, go underneath, take from underneath and create your knot. Depending on the size of your topiary, obviously you will have a longer, taller stem. Now this one is a good size. And then you give yourself some stem to go inside the pot for stability. Okay, so I think that's a good size. And I'm going to now put some of the green goop, green Crayola goop. This one's got very small opening, and this will eventually dry, so you won't need to put any glue. Clean it up at the top, and I'm going to make this the front. I don't know if you can hear farm animals behind me, but I've got a video on for my dogs. Yep, I hear farm animals, and that tends to calm them down. While I'm upstairs, they get a little bit anxious if I'm not in the room downstairs with them. So there you go. It's for me to rest a little bit of the little silk ribbon that rests there. There you go. Oops. You know, Fatima, don't fiddle with it. You know better. When you start fiddling, it starts to misbehave. I'm going to leave it at that, and then I'm going to cut some nice long and then there you have it. 1, 2, and here's my first one from many, many, many years ago. Hope you enjoyed this. Hope you try it. Send me your projects once you've tried it. I'd love to share them on our Instagram page. Again, hope you enjoyed it. Give it a try. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Until we meet again.